Hi everyone, this is going to be a very quick theory video, and in this video we're going to cover 2A, which is symmetry. And the reason I've split it up is so that we can get this right before we move on, because symmetry comes into trigonometry quite a bit. It's not hard to understand, it just takes a bit of practice. So what I've done here is I've made our unit circle, and I'm just going to pop in in degrees, so 0, 90, 180, 270. And the first time I explain this, I'm going to do it in degrees, and the second time through we'll go in radians. So what we're looking at is how to figure out what the exact value is if it's more than 90. So from the last video, you should have learnt that if it's, say, 30 degrees here, and you want to find out, well, what is, say, sine of 30, you're going to go to that formula sheet. Okay, and if we're looking at sine of 30, well, 30 is pi on 6. We're going to go down here, and sine of pi on 6 will be a half. Okay, so it's pretty easy when it's in the first quadrant. The problem is when it's not in the first quadrant. Okay, so for example, what if we wanted to know what sine of 150 was? Okay, and how we figure that out is through symmetry. So there's two ways that we can do it. There's kind of a written algebraic way, and there's a visual drawing way. I'll show you the visual way first, and then I'll show you the written way. So the way that we do it, if we want to do it visually, is we're going to mark a line at 150. So it's about, that was terrible, it's about there. Okay? And what we want to do is we want to find the distance from that line to the horizontal. So from that line to the horizontal. You can't go to the vertical. You've got to go off 0 or 180 or 360, but we're always on that horizontal line. Now I'm going to try and find out how many degrees there are between my line and the horizontal, which in this case, because I've tried to make it easy, is 30. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're then going to look at sine of 30, which we already know is a half. Okay? The next thing we have to consider is, you remember our cast diagrams? It would help if I did it in the right ones. Okay, so we've figured out that it's going to be a half, but we also need to check whether it's going to be positive or whether it's going to be negative. So it is in the second quadrant where sine is positive. So sine of 150 is positive 1/2. Okay, so let's try that again using visual, and then we'll do written. What if we had, let's change it. Let's go cos of 210. Okay, I'm going to mark a line. I'm going to get in the way. I'm going to mark a line. So 210 is about here. Because I went 90, 180 plus a bit, 210. And I want to figure out the degrees to the horizontal. Okay, in this case, again, I'm trying to make it easy to understand. It is 30 degrees. So what we want to do is we want to find out, is it positive or negative, and what is the value? Okay, so I'm going to find the value using my formula sheet. So cos of 30 is root 3 on 2 here. Okay, and I'm in the third quadrant there, where only tan is positive. So my answer is going to be negative root 3 on 2. Okay, so it's kind of a three-step process. You draw the line, you find the value, and then you find whether it's a positive or negative. So if you check those three things every time, we should be pretty okay. Right, I'm just going to write my little examples up here so I don't forget them. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it without the circle this time, without drawing a unit circle. Either one of these methods, whichever one you like best, is absolutely fine. So just pick one and stick with it. So we're going to do sine of 150. Now I need to figure out where the closest horizontal is. So I've got a horizontal at 0 and I've got a horizontal at 180. It is closest to 180. So I'm going to change this from 150. Oh, sorry. One moment. 180 minus 30. Because if I took 180, 30 away from 180, I would get 150. Okay, so I've done a little bit of manipulation there. I haven't changed it at all. It's still sine of 150. I've just split it up. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is sine of 30. Okay, so you can see there I'm splitting it. I did the same thing over here. I just did it visually. And then I just need to figure out what sine of 30 is, which I should know. I think it's a half. Yep. Ooh. Okay. Let's try that again with the 210. So we're going cos of 210. We're manipulating it so it talks about the closest horizontal. So cos of 180 plus 30. Okay. So cos of 30 gives us root 3 on 2, I believe. And then we just need to think, is it positive or is it negative? Okay, and we can do that very easily because if we know it's 180 and then a bit, we're into the third quadrant here, which is negative. Up here, 180 minus 30, we're back into the second quadrant where sine is positive. Okay, so two different ways of doing it. Either one is absolutely fine. I find that most people prefer the visual way of doing it, at least to start with, and then they can kind of do it in their heads from there. But if that one makes more sense to you, you can use that one too.